To start off this video, might as well tell you who won Bioshock Infinite's giveaway, and that's Drunk Irish. I know you already got the game. You already sent the confirmation. Hope you enjoy it. That's good. Uh, Probably gonna let this next giveaway for Shadow of Mordor Definitive Edition, Game of the Year Edition, Complete Edition, something like that. Uh, Probably gonna make that either a full week, maybe a full week. We'll probably try this full week. See how that goes. So I'm not going to announce who won in next week's video because, well, video's not going to, well, video's going to be out before I announce the winner. Anyway, that way people who only watch on the weekends and whatnot can enter the giveaway too. So this week's video, a little different. Talked about it a while back. Figured, why not, right? Game's coming out soon. I don't know if it's going to stick to the same history as the original Fable games or if it's going to make its own history, but figured might as well give a lore dump to it, right? Fable, the first one, I never kept up with any of that stuff because I was a kid at the time when it came out. But when it came out, I got it, I played it, I enjoyed it for what it was. And I learned everything I could about it because I'm, I don't know, obsessive like that, I guess. So I just brushed up on the overall lore. So I'm going to give you a timeline rundown on the Fable world, okay? So I guess we start in the beginning. Before the beginning, actually. It's a little weird, just hang in there and we'll get to the end of it soon enough. So, like I said, we have to start before the beginning. In an age before the earliest recorded age in the history of the Fable universe, it's just an unnamed age. Humans lived, humans had a civilization, there was some weirdness going on with it, but that's it. That's all we know. There are some books that survived from it, and we know humans existed during that time, and that's it. That's pretty much all we know of this pre-time age, prehistoric age in Fable. And that age is brought to an end when something, I'll explain what I think happened later, but when something ripped open a hole in reality into a place known as the Void. The Void, you can think of it like hell, right? And from the Void walked three beings. These three beings were known as the Court. Some call it the Court of the Void, the Shadow Court, the Court of Blades. Most just call it the Court. Made up of three individuals. The first one is the Knight of Blades. Second is the Jack of Blades. Third is the Queen of Blades. Going up in power as I just named them. When they walked out of the Void, they found humanity. And they wanted to subjugate humanity. They tried multiple times to subjugate humanity, and humanity was able to resist, which goes back to show you that, pre this era, there was, a human civilization that existed. And it didn't work. First time, I do believe they unleashed a torrential flood, and then there was like a giant fire, and then they unleashed just beasts and whatnot upon humanity, each and every time killing thousands of people, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. We don't really know. Not really recorded too well. And then eventually they are able to whittle down humanity to a point to where they're able to subjugate humanity, to enslave humanity. And that's how time went for a long time during this Age of Shadows, Age of the Court, whatever you want to call it. As time went on, humanity went from being a pinnacle to being medieval in style. And you may be thinking, well, this is where the game starts. No, we're not there yet. We are far from being there. During this time, people lived, they took up trades, carpenters, cobblers, wheelers, porters, blacksmiths. And we're going to focus on a blacksmith at this point. A normal blacksmith, unnamed, and his wife gave birth and had a child. This child was different than any human that had ever existed before. By the age of like 10, he was stronger than grown men. As he aged, he got even stronger. By the time he was an adult, he could accomplish feats no one had ever seen before, simply referred to acts of will. They're called acts of will because, well, his name is William, right? His name is William Black. He could create force fields, he could shoot lightning from his hands, move extremely fast, was stronger than any man. And he wanted to free his people. So what William did was he started to look, hunt, and search for ancient knowledge, right? And he found a book. Found a book that spoke of ancient buildings and spires and castles and towers and the like. And he realized what one of them did. It could rip open a hole into the void. He knew that to be able to combat the things from the void, he had to go to the void. So he channeled his magic, his will, ripped open a hole into the void, and went in. Whilst in the void, he came across a strange sword. A sword that is sentient, that has a mind of its own that does what it wants. Black blade, red handle on it. This sword spoke to him and told him, hey, you give me your soul, I'll give you the power you need to free your people. He took the sword, and in doing so, he pissed off Jack of Blades. They fought, briefly, and then William got the hell out of Dodge and sealed the void gate behind him, right? He spent time with the sword, he learned of it, understood it, and in time, he challenged the court. He walked up to their, I can't remember if it's called a ziggurat or just a stepped pyramid of sorts. I'm going to say kind. And he walked up it. The first to fight him was the Knight of Blades. Killed him in a single hit. The next to appear and fight him was the Jack of Blades. This fight went on a little longer. He still killed Jack of Blades. Well, he thought he killed Jack of Blades. See, Jack wasn't trying to subjugate the sword that William had found in the void. He was learning from it. The sword told William that if William gave the sword his soul, it would give him more power. Jack simply wanted to know how to remove his own soul. So Jack removed his own soul and stuck it in his mask. When William thought Jack was dead, the mask sneaked off back into the void. Disappeared for a long time. William continued on up the pyramid and challenged the Queen of Blades. And now you'd think with killing the knight in one hit and Jack in less than a few minutes, that the Queen wouldn't take too much longer than either of them. Yeah, no, the Queen of Blades was the strongest of any of them. When they started fighting, their clash leveled mountains, ripped open holes in the earth and created seas, gouged out rivers, created plains, you name it. Their battle went on for months. By the end of it, William had eventually killed the Queen of Blades. Their battle had taught him many things of his power and of the power he could now wield thanks to this sword. So, he got to work. He proclaimed himself the Archon, the king, right? Wrapped himself in gold chainmail and blue robes and set about rebuilding the world. He didn't just rebuild it, though. He did, in fact, go through and raise cities in days, but he also built contraptions that ran off of pure magic. What these contraptions did, we don't really know. They're not really explained or anything like that. But you could figure that they would be like magically enchanted technology and stuff like that. And so began the Old Kingdom, what Fable calls the Old Kingdom, the Age of the Archons. So William, he ruled as the first Archon. I guess the firstborn was the true Archon, and then everyone born like secondary to that was just an Archon. Hard to differentiate because they just refer to all of them as of his bloodline as the Archons. It's weird. Anyway, as time went on, a few hundred years, William realized he's not dying. And the sword hasn't spoke to him in a long time. But what he does realize is that he's corrupted, he's tainted. When he went into the void the first time and laid hand to sword, he got corrupted, so he needed to purge that. So, he went back to the void, ripped open a gateway, walked into it, and purged this corruption from him, this shadow that was building in him. And he purged it because he knew if he did not, he would become worse than the court was. After he purged the shadow from him, and he came back, he saw that his children and their children were strong. So he decided that he was not needed anymore. He wrapped himself in his gold chainmail again, in his blue robes, and he just disappeared. And so began the civil war of the Archons. They started fighting, right? There was no great enemy to fell, no great evil to ally themselves against, so they started fighting each other. Many great weapons are made at this point in time in history. You can find them throughout most of the Fable games. And yeah, that's how that goes. We don't really know much about any of the Archons in between the first and the last because they're not really all that important, right? William ruled for like 500 years, and then the Great Civil War of the Archons lasted for like another 500 years, give or take, leading to the end era of the Old Kingdom here. Now, you would figure it would be due to the Great Civil Wars of the Archons and the like that is what would have ended the Old Kingdom, and it's not. The last Archon, referred to that just because he was the last one, he poured through the ancient tomes that William Black had found from the precursor civilization before the court showed up. And in these books spoke of an ancient tower that could be built that would focus all of the magic into the world into a singular point and grant one wish. They referred to it as the spire. Thing is, when the last Archon built this tower and it was finished, all of the magic of the world was focused into a single point, and it ripped open a hole into the void again. Because of course it did. Which makes me figure that's what happened to originally allow the court to show up too. So, when this hole gets ripped open into the void, the essence, the shadow that was in William Black, that he cast out when he went back into the void, had congealed into its own consciousness. The crawler, the shadow, whatever you want to call it. And it decided it wanted to be free of the void, so it started to move out. When it did, 3 heroes, each one embodying a different facet of William's power. Skill, will, and strength. The 3 traits and facets of heroes, as they call them. These were the first heroes, mind you. They fought back the crawler and they sealed the void. Now, accounts at this point split into 2, right? The first idea of what happened was that when the void was sealed, all of the magical energy in the world that was still rushing into that point pretty much all condensed and then exploded, destroying the entirety of the Old Kingdom. Maybe, maybe not. I personally don't think that's the case. I think that the void was sealed, and then the last archon was able to actually do what he wanted, to have his wish granted for no more war amongst his people. So, what does the wish do? Monkey Paw style, it just levels his entire kingdom. All of the archons are dead at this point. Maybe. And that's it. The kingdoms that sat outside of the borders of the Old Kingdom that the Old Kingdom traded with are all fine and untouched. The Old Kingdom of Albion is completely gone, reduced to ruins. Most people are dead, some people aren't. I guess 9 out of every 10 died. It was insane. And that pushes us forward into the age of, well, the Wild Ages, the Age of Bandits, whatever you want to call it. During this time, heroes, really, as we know them, started to come into the ruins of the Old Kingdom, now known as just Albion. And these heroes, they had magic, they had strength, they had what they referred to as skill, which is like a bow and guile and speed and dexterity and stuff like that. And they turned into bandits. They started killing the people there, stealing from them, doing whatever they wanted, because no one could stop them. Mind you, these heroes, as they are called, are descended from the archons. Just so you know, everyone that can use magic descends from William Black. Right? They're just illegitimate kids that were born in faraway kingdoms. Stuff like that. So, time goes on. Bandits arise, everything is terrible. You're looking like Dark Ages style, everything everywhere, really. And that's how that goes. Till one day, a bandit chief, strongest of them, known as Nostro, wears black armor that's gilded gold, a griffin helmet with a griffin sword and shield. Pretty much a bandit king. He's fighting, only ever feels at peace when he's fighting, when he's got a war to fight. And as he's fighting, one night at camp, a strange man approaches him. This man, old, tired, many say he looks like a walking corpse. He introduces himself as Scythe. Scythe tells Nostro, hey, I'm going to need you to stop doing what you're doing, and I'm going to need you to call all of our people together, all of the people that can use magic, call them all together in one place, and train them so that we can start putting everything back together. Nostro wanted to fight. Scythe fought him. Scythe won. Nostro was impressed by this. So, he did what Scythe said. So they gathered the people that were like them together. Scythe trained Nostro. Nostro trained everyone else. And, as such, was the first guild master of the Heroes Guild. Nostro, wanting to die in combat, never was able to die in combat. He was poisoned and died, which is sad and funny all at the same time, really. But that brings us into the Age of Heroes, right? During the Age of Heroes, well, heroes, as they are known in-game, take quests. You know, if someone wants something done, they fill out a little card, they give it to the guild looks at it. You know, standard fantasy trope of adventurers guild type thing, except it's just referred to as the Heroes Guild. The reason it's referred to as the Heroes Guild is because they only took quests that were morally correct. Oh, bandits are attacking a farm? We'll make sure that we defend that farm. Oh, you need a prisoner escorted to the gallows? We will escort that prisoner. And this gave rise to an issue. Many of the extremely strong heroes found fault in this. They wanted to make money, right? So they started taking less savory quests. And as such, the guild tried to kill them. And the heroes went rogue, became bandit kings and chiefs and outlaws and the like, and this kicked off a civil war within the Heroes Guild. A young man by the name of Weaver and another one by the name of Maze. They challenged the Heroes Guild, and they won. And when they won, they put in place an act that means that the hero is allowed to choose their own fate. If they want to take quests to do bad shit, whatever. It's not our problem, right? If someone wants to stop this bad thing from happening, they can put in another quest card and pay more money to have other heroes stop these heroes. Simple as that. So, make money for the guild and let heroes decide who they want to be. After Weaver and Maze overthrew the old guard of the Heroes Guild, Scythe shows back up. Yes, the same Scythe that, existed when the Heroes Guild was first created, hundreds of years ago. Man Strange. He shows up and he's like, yeah, no. Weaver, you're the new guild master. Also, make sure we don't kill any more heroes because we're getting kind of low on them, right? So, they try to safeguard heroes to a point, train them as well as they can, and that's the start of the first game. Cliff Notes version of the first game. Your character, born in Oakvale, town gets attacked, father dies, your mother's no one knows where, your sister disappears. You get taken in by Maze and raised in the Heroes Guild, trained by Weaver and Maze. You learn, strangely, all three facets of being a hero. You become stronger, you go out, you do your quests, you do your missions. Through the entire course of your story, the story of the original Fable game, you learn that you, as the player character, are descended from the first archon. And as such, you, the player character, can wield the Sword of Aeons, the black blade that William Black found in the void. Problem is, Jack of Blades is back. By this point in time, history has forgotten who he was, and they just refer to him as a hero because he can use magic. He's a hero, right? So, events of the game go on. Your character's choices matter to a point. You save your mother, then Jack steals her, then, this, that, and the other. Jack summons the sword using the ancient bloodline of the archons. Since Scarlet Rogue, your mother, was technically the last archon. Her blood summons the sword. Then your older sister, Grease, her blood was supposed to finally break the last seal on it and empower the blade so that Jack could use it. You beat Jack. Simple as that. And then you decide if you want to throw the Sword of Aeons into the void, where it came from, or if you want to kill your sister and take the sword for yourself. Canonically, the hero of Oakvale tosses the sword into the void, and that's the end of the Blade of Aeons. Well, Sword of Aeons. After that, Therese climbs a mountain, finds a seer like herself. They travel eastward. She wakes up one night to him trying to steal her power. She kills him, takes his teleportation amulet, teleports to the east, where she lives for a long time. The hero of Oakvale continues his journey, goes to the bounds outside of Albion, meets a man by the name of Scythe. Well, you technically meet him earlier on in game, but it's only a split second. But you meet Scythe, and when you meet him, if you've been paying attention to any of the books you find until this point, you realize that this old man, blue markings on his skin, gold chain mail, and blue robes, that Scythe is the first Archon, that he's still alive and still exists because really no one ever knew the extent of his power beforehand. So, he's just kind of around doing whatever. And you go into the Northern Wastes, you collect the souls of ancient heroes, a hero of skill, will, and strength, and you unlock a gateway to go into where the last dragon is, and the Jack of Blades has possessed the last dragon. Dragon boss fight ensues. You kill Jack of Blades. You then decide if you want to bind Jack's soul. Well, you bind Jack's soul forever to his mask, and then you get to decide if you want to throw the mask into lava and kill Jack of Blades for good, or wear the mask and become the Jack of Blades. Canonically, throws the mask into the lava and kills the Jack of Blades. After that, it's the end of the hero's story from Oakvale. Skip ahead a century or two, and the beginning of Fable 2 happens. The descendants of Hero of Oakvale, one Rose and one Sparrow, are homeless. Their family, they used to live on a farm. Parents died in a cart accident. They lost everything. They're now homeless, living in Bowerstone. Events of game take place. Skip. I'm not going to explain all of this. A guy that lost his family rebuilt the tattered spire to make the one wish. The entirety of it gets built again. Skip to the end. 3 ancient heroes are gathered in one place. You go into said place to stop this from happening. All of the magic in the world condenses. You're able to make one wish. You get to choose either family, the world, or money. After that, Therese, who's been your guide for the entire game, pretty much tells you to get the fuck out because it's hers now. And so you kind of got to get the fuck out. And yeah, that's the events of Fable 2. Although I will note, if you choose the family card, right, Rose, your sister, dies in the beginning of the game, just in like the first 10 minutes of it. Not really spoilers or anything there. If you choose the family card, if you had a spouse and children in the game, they come back. Your dog comes back, your pet dog. But your sister also comes back. And she's still the same age she was when she died, so she's a kid. And when she wakes up, she says, well, when she wakes up, she sends you a letter. And she says, hey, I'm alive. I'm in this weird place here. And I met this old man. He seems scary, but he also seems nice. And she goes on to talk about how he's, gold chainmail, blue robes, and whatnot. So Scythe is looking after your dead sister, who's now alive again in that ending of the game, which I think is pretty neat. Now, your character, having saved the world and stopped the evil Lord of Bowerstone, after the events of the game, you become the king. That's it. You become the king or queen, dependent of Albion. Simple as that. One of the DLCs, look to the future, or look ahead, or something of the future. You see bits and pieces of like Fable 3's story. Skip ahead to Fable 3. Not as good as the other ones, really. Second one's the best in my opinion. The blood of the heroes has been so downgraded and watered down that they need specialized gauntlets to channel their magic. Bad things happen. You learn that the shadow that was cast out by William Black, that was then sealed by the 3 ancient heroes, wasn't sealed back in the void, but was instead sealed under the desert. You accidentally let it out. It's going to destroy the world. You got to build an army to stop it. Blah, blah, blah. You win, right? It's not really that great of a game. Then again, Fable always overpromises and underdelivers just a little bit, which is why I try never to pay attention to them, right? And yeah, that's pretty much the story of Fable up until the end game. There's like a Connect version of Fable where you're like a gypsy, like full-on caravan wagon, all of that. You meet Therese, someone took this tattered spire from her, blah, blah, blah. So, I think it's called The Journey. Never played it, never will. And that's it's pretty much the story of Fable. If the new game is going to stick to this storyline, not sure how it would, especially since in Fable 2, the Age of Heroes was felled and all heroes killed during the revolt against the Heroes Guild. happened pre-2, after 1. Guns were invented. And, you know, the old saying, God made men, Sam Colt made them equal. People sick of heroes doing whatever the fuck they wanted, just killed the heroes off. So, heroes are hard to come by. You know, if you can use magic, you're like a hero, legendary hero status. And, yeah, that's about the entirety of the Fable storyline. So, first things first, I'm probably going to release this Monday, and then I'm probably going to go through and also re-release this whenever the next Fable game comes out. Speaking of the next Fable game, from what I've seen of the few previews I've watched of it, it seems to be back to the sword and, you know, spells and swords of the first Fable game. No guns and whatnot like in the second and third ones. Is it going to completely rewrite it? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But, yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If this is your first or second time here, hope you enjoyed your stay. If this is your third time here, go ahead and hit subscribe so you can stay up to date on when I post. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hype, comment, whatever else YouTube wants nowadays. Although, I guess YouTube is changing how views work again. So, who knows what that's going to do. Let's move into the giveaway. Well, I keep forgetting to mention this. We have memberships. For $1 a month, you get access to members-only videos. For $2 a month, you get early access to every video I released. Be it by an hour or be it by a day, you still get early access to it. Anyway, on to the next giveaway for Shadow of Mordor. Great game. Game that they developed a Nemesis system for. No one can ever use the Nemesis system for literally anything else, which pisses me off, but great game nonetheless. I'm gonna let this, I'm gonna let this one go for an entire week. And you know what? I'm gonna be super nice and tell you what the following giveaway is gonna be for too. And it's gonna be for Shadows of War, the second part to this game. So stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoy that. Giveaway is gonna be up for a week, so from this Monday till next Monday. That way, if you're watching this on the weekend, feel free to hop in and see if you can win yourself a free game. And yeah, hopefully the lighting and stuff isn't too bad here. A little off. I got new lights and stuff I'm playing around with. Hopefully they work out a little better than the old ones I was using. I was just using flashlights on tripods. They worked okay. Still figuring out my camera too with how to set it for the stuff. So it does look a little darker, but I should be able to tune it to a point to where it looks smooth, has better fidelity, and is just better lit. Anyway, it's super hot in here. I'm wearing a wool hat. And it's like Monday morning, so I need to get this finished and exported so that I can get it uploaded and make a thumbnail for it. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.